Hello. Link's with us because he is being a little pain in the butt, and we love it because he wants loves, and we love to love on him. So
it requires attention.
Yeah.
All right. So for this video, we're doing a book tag.
Yep. We haven't done a book tag lately, but we have this one, and we have the Spice book tag to do as well. We will do that tomorrow.
I'm excited.
Yeah, we'll do that tomorrow, and we'll probably have it out tomorrow. So cool.
So who
but
created
we were tagged in this one first.
Okay.
This was tagged by Michael K Vaughan.
Okay.
Who is one of our February Fantasy co-hosts, February Fantasy Stories co-hosts, and I am so happy he did that. He's like a BookTube celebrity these days, up there with Steve Donahue and all that. Except Michael has better taste in comic books. Yeah.
Start a war on BookTube, why don't you?
Well, it's a thing they do every week. Michael picks a comic book that they talk about, okay, like a collection of comic books, and then Steve craps on it. It is a lot of fun to watch too.
At this point, it's a tradition.
Yeah. Link is eating this up, so
Hey, Link.
yeah, he's a good boy.
Hey, can you howl for me?
Want to howl?
Want to howl for me? No, you're enjoying yourself too much. I get it.
Link,
Can you howl?
can you howl? Huh? Can you howl? He doesn't want to.
I sure don't.
I might get him to before this is over though. Okay.
You should see this face. Oh my.
These are great questions. There's 8 of them. And, well, yeah, 8 of them, but 2 of them have 2 questions. So kind of 10 questions.
Okay.
Yeah. So you can get started.
We'll go dive in face first. I like it.
Yeah, Becky will read them this time.
Number 1. What was the first science fiction book that you read, and what did you think of it?
You can go ahead.
First science fiction book I ever read was Ender's Game by Orson Scott Card. And I loved it. Absolutely loved it. I was absolutely floored by the fact that I loved it because I was just sure I would not like sci-fi. But yeah, I loved it. Love it to this day.
Yeah. Mine was Foundation by Isaac Asimov, the very first Foundation book.
The Foundation was the first book you read, and it did not terrify you,
No.
like scare you off of sci-fi forever.
I loved it. It didn't, but the thing is, I probably didn't read sci-fi for a couple years after, but not because I didn't love it, because I loved it. I loved everything about it. Oh, look, I have COVID beard, so yeah, don't look too close. I've been wearing a mask. Yeah, I thought it was great. Still think it's great. And I'm going to be reading it again this year for the Future History project that I'm doing with Mark Richardson and headed up by Sean D. Standfast, which has been a ton of fun so far. I've got one more story to read this week for it, and I will be doing that video here in just a few minutes. So yeah.
Okay. Number 2. What was the last What was the last science fiction book that you read? What did you think of it?
Last science fiction book I read, a full science fiction book that was not just a short story, because I read tons of short stories. I probably read 30 or 40 short stories, science fiction short stories since then. Mine was Ringworld by Larry Nevin. First time read for me, and I had a great time with Ringworld. And I like it the more I think of it. I thought it was really strange when I was reading it because Nevin made some strange choices in that story, but I really, really enjoyed it. And it's one I'll read again. And I want to keep going with like Ringworld Engineers, the short stories, all that stuff I want to keep going with.
So for me, I'm halfway through a sci-fi alien romance right now. But the last one I read before that was actually it was a book by Juno Wells, and I cannot. I'm pantsing this. I'm just doing it by the seat of my pants to say no, but I don't remember the actual name of it. It was number 11 in the Strixien series, I think. 9 or 11. I think no, maybe it was 9.
The newest one.
It was 9. No.
Oh.
I'm probably done with that series because it started going, it started veering off from what the series is about, and the characters have started getting more and more off of the beaten path, and it's gotten kind of redundant.
Okay.
So I'm probably not going to finish that series. You're not fully committed.
I don't understand 11-book series. I love standalones and I love trilogies. Outside of that, I think any story gets redundant just about.
Some authors do it really well. There's like Ruby Dixon. She did great. She managed to keep her the Ice Planet Barbarian series.
Well,
fresh all the way through.
A lot of the problem is just like what Terry Brooks has done. But Terry Brooks, from what I hear, has kept a lot of it fresh with the Shannara books. Mm-hmm. But not everybody can do that. You know, Terry Brooks, he did it by introducing new characters, introducing new times, introducing new places. A lot of people just write the same books in the same time.
Which is what Ruby Dixon did. She introduced new characters, new places, new ideas.
And let me tell you, that is one of the places where historical romance shines, I think. Historical romance, they'll call things a series, but they're all standalone. Mm-hmm. And unfortunately, science fiction and fantasy, epic science fiction and fantasy, loves to write 1,200-page books and make 40 books in a series. It's ridiculous.
Yeah, to the point that you get to book 12 and you have no idea what's going on unless you've read 1 through 11.
Which is something I like about Brandon Sanderson. Brandon Sanderson does write thick books. He writes a bunch of different series, but that's just because he writes fast. But he usually stops at 3 or 4 books.
That's kind of a problem in sci-fi romance, though. You get a lot of books they're part of a series, but they're all standalone. You don't get very many series that are long storylines. I kind of like that sometimes, the long storylines.
I really don't care for it all that much.
Your phone did something I can't get back. Fix it.
Okay. It's because you don't have my ugly mug to... There you go.
I happen to like your mug. All right. Number 3. If you love science fiction, what made you love science fiction?
Go ahead.
Ender's Game. Star Trek. Sci-fi TV shows. They really made me love science fiction. Star Trek. I said Star Trek.
You sure did.
Star Trek: The Next Generation is just one of my very, very favorites. Favorite science fiction shows, and there have been many science fiction shows that I've really, really loved that just keep me coming back to science fiction. So that's what, TV shows a lot.
Yeah, living here in the South, you hear Star Trek more than you do Star Trek because nobody here can read.
I have a speech impediment.
I'm not talking about you. I mean everybody else, because at least you knew it was wrong when you said it.
It just popped out.
Star Trek. People look at it, read Trek. Oh, that's track. Yeah, okay. But mine is Star Trek, the original series. With Becky, it was Star Trek, The Next Generation. Right?
Yeah.
Mine was the original series. I was raised watching that at my grandma's house. I would be up at like midnight. She left her TV on at night. And so I would watch Star Trek, most of the time with sound down real low, so I had to get close up to the TV. Sometimes with the sound off. And I just laid there and watched anyway.
I used to do that
with
the
monsters.
monsters.
First episode I remember is possibly the worst episode of Star Trek in history. And it was Spock's brain.
It made an impression.
Yeah, it did. I mean, I loved it when I was a kid. It actually scared me a little bit. I was 8, maybe. But now I love it. I love Star Trek. I don't love that episode, but I love Star Trek.
The first original series episode I remember is The Trouble with Tribbles.
Yeah, that's fun. That's a great episode.
I love that.
Yeah. It's not a great episode. It is a fun episode.
He's sitting there in the pile of tribbles, and that one comes flying out of the compartment and smacks him in the back of the head. Yeah. Okay. Number 4. What is your favorite science fiction movie? For me, that's Star Trek 4. was it The Voyage Home?
Mm-hmm. It's
That
fun.
right there is another one of the things that made me love science fiction. The Star Trek in Wales, you just don't get better than that.
Yeah.
It's such a good movie.
Now, I like most of the Star Trek movies. I don't like them all. I thought Generations was awful.
I enjoyed Generations.
I thought it was bad. And I hate Star Trek 5. I know a lot of people love it. But we hate Star Trek 5 so bad.
That's one of those I kind of giggle all the way through because about half of it's just utterly ridiculous.
It is. Yeah. Start from beginning to end. Just ridiculous. My favorite Star Trek movie,
favorite movie?
My favorite science fiction movie is Alien, which I guess that's a science fiction movie, but it's also a horror movie. So if I were to go for another Star Trek movie, it'd be Star Trek, or another science fiction movie, it'd be Star Trek First Contact. Love First Contact. Such a good movie. With the Next Generation cast. I love Star Trek II, The Wrath of Khan. Amazing. Star Trek 6. Had a great time with that.
You know, it's funny. I love
Star
the
Trek
movie.
3 we enjoyed.
I love the movie Wrath of Khan, but I hated the Khan episode of the original series.
Really?
Yeah.
I liked it.
Well, it's because you got to see the very, very real similarities between Khan and Kirk.
Yeah.
Because Kirk was kind of an oversexed despot.
Yeah.
And so was Khan. So, yeah, I kind of vacillated back and forth between Star Trek 4 and Serenity for this question. But I chose the Star Trek movie because the next question is, what is your favorite sci-fi TV show? And that is Firefly.
Okay.
I love that show.
Yeah, Firefly is a great show, and it looks like it's being remade.
I'm so excited.
Or it's coming back on.
It's
coming
a reboot.
back on. Yeah, it's a reboot.
So excited.
Yeah, we're pretty excited about that. I love it. They didn't make enough.
They really didn't.
They had one season. I don't even know if they really finished the season. I think they were still missing a couple episodes.
Yeah, it was supposed to be. I think it was supposed to be like 12 episodes, and they stopped at 10 or something.
No, I think they did 13. They're supposed to be more than that.
I thought it was more than that. Really? I thought it was 10.
No, I don't think so. I think it's 13.
I wonder what I'm thinking of.
I don't know.
What's your favorite science fiction TV show?
Star Trek, the original series. I can't get past it.
It's because it's fantastic.
And I love Twilight Zone too, the original Twilight Zone. Those are great. The Outer Limits was great.
Oh yeah,
Outer Limits was
I
great.
like
I love all
Limits.
three of those shows. I have to go with Star Trek, the original series. I don't know that sci-fi TV has ever been done better. I don't think it has, especially the first 2 seasons. Yeah, Firefly was good. It is not better than Star Trek, the original series, and neither was Next Generation.
I disagree. Again, going back to that oversexed despot thing.
Next Generation is the 4th best Star Trek show. I do.
Bite your tongue. I like that the Star Trek the Next Generation kept the oversexed despot, but put him as number 1 instead of the captain.
Yeah.
Boy, a lot of shenanigans go on in that show because of Riker's libido. All right. Number 6. What science fiction book do you feel should be read more often?
Go ahead.
For me, it's a book by Darcy Coates called Parasite. You don't hear about it much, but it's kind of like sci-fi light. It's very much sci-fi, but it's got a little bit of romance thrown in one of the stories, and it's got some horror thrown in a couple of the stories, and it got a lot of sci-fi. It's very, very good, and it's a lot of fun to read. And it doesn't get the recognition it deserves because Darcy Coates tends to write haunted house stories, and then there's this wonderful sci-fi book just sort of floating in the middle of her repertoire, and I love it, and I think it deserves more recognition than it gets. So that's Parasite by Darcy Coates.
Mine book I think should be read more, but like Steve Donahue says, there's no should. You know, people are going to read what they want to read, and they're entitled to that. But if people were to come up to me and say, what Star Trek, what science fiction book off the beaten path should I read? That is great. and that is not hard to get into. I say The Lathe of Heaven by Ursula K. Le Guin. Everybody would say The Dispossessed, or she's got one other one, I cannot remember the name of it, that everybody reads. Go with The Lathe of Heaven first. It's short, it's easy to read. It's pretty early, I think, in her writing, and it's entertaining, and it's easy to read between the lines. Whereas some of her stuff isn't. She was mostly a leftist, especially as she got older, politically. So if you're not into that, then maybe don't read it. Don't read her stuff. But she's awesome. Ursula K. Le Guin was excellent. The Lathe of Heaven is usually not read within the first 3 or 4 books. Even probably the top 5 or 6 books that people read by Ursula K. Le Guin. But I say read The Lathe of Heaven first.
I just realized I completely messed up number 3. If you love science fiction, what made you love science fiction?
Oh.
It should have been The Last Starfighter.
Oh, yeah.
I love that movie so much.
Yeah,
it's so good.
That's a fun movie, yeah.
Number 7. What is your favorite science fiction short story? Mine is Robbie by Isaac Asimov. It's so good. It's so sweet. And of course, I read the one that has the crappy ending.
Yeah, the one she read. I just finished reading Robbie again for probably the 3rd or 4th time I read it, and but I've always read this one that had this ending. I've never read the one that she read that had a different ending. He changed it up. No, actually, he changed it up to what I read. What you read was the original ending.
Yeah, probably because people kept reacting the way I did.
Yeah, maybe.
Yeah, he was talking about how he'd read the story and it was so good, and I'm like, it was great until we got to the ending. He's like, what are you talking about?
Yeah. The ending I read was not. It was not really all that sad at all.
Yeah, no, it wasn't sad at all. It was really sweet.
Yeah.
And then we get to my ending. He's like, yeah, whatever. And I'm like, oh,
yeah.
God.
My favorite science fiction short story we read for New Worlds November, and I read it with Mindy from Mindy's Book Journey, and it was Bloodchild by Octavia E. Butler. That is as good a science fiction short story, I believe, as there is. It actually hit kind of hard emotionally. You could relate to a character in a story about what it was about. I'm not going to tell you. A person should read it. It's not long. It's probably 20 pages or less. I would say read it and tell us what you think when you do. It's an easy story to find. I believe it's in multiple. I think I've got it. I actually have it in one of these Gardner Does What books down here that Scott Danielson gave me. But yeah, it's Bloodchild, and then probably about 5 stories by Isaac Asimov after that.
Okay, what is your favorite science fiction book?
This is the last question.
Yes, that's number 8. I'm going to anger the science fiction gods, but I don't care. My favorite science fiction book is The Ice Planet Barbarians by Ruby Dixon. It's a sci-fi romance, but it's gotten me stuck on the sci-fi romance genre. Like, to the point, that's why I've been reading all of last year, because I've enjoyed it so very, very much.
I wish somebody would come out with sci-fi cozy mysteries to get her off the sci-fi romance for a while.
Probably. Don't make me hurt you. Anyway, yeah, that's my my favorite science. Shut.
I have 2 answers.
Book.
I have an answer of a book that I haven't read in a while. It's Dune. I think it's absolutely the best science fiction novel ever written, and it's my favorite. But a book that I've read since that I liked the most was Hyperion by Dan Simmons.
That was a good book.
Yeah, I think it's still read plenty, still read a lot, and for good reason. Hyperion is wonderful. I still haven't gone on with the series like I want to. I want to read the rest of the series, but I don't know if I'll get to it in the next couple months or not. I would love to, but I'll see what happens.
Okay.
And yeah, but Dune, We watched the movie the other night too, and it was fine.
Good.
It was fine.
I liked it a lot.
Yeah, she liked it a lot. I was indifferent about parts. I thought it was beautiful. Looked great.
It was a pretty movie.
Although there were some things in it that looked a little weird. Some of the special effects look kind of weird, and we even had it on Blu-ray on a nice TV and everything on a big 52-inch TV. Yeah, I thought it looked kind of strange.
I thought the special effects were impressive. I thought that like the sandworms were impressive.
The sandworms were kind of cool, yeah. But yeah, we enjoyed it, but it's not my Dune. You know, it's not. I don't. But then again, neither was Lynch's Dune was terrible.
Lynch's Dune had Kyle was it Kyle MacLachlan or Kyle Lachlan?
Yeah,
Or,
McLaughlin.
McLaughlin?
Yeah, she hates him. I actually like
He's
him.
got such a smackable face.
I like him, but I don't like that movie. I liked him in Blue Velvet. I liked him in.
Oh God! I hate Blue Velvet.
I know you do.
I hate it.
Yep.
It's all Kyle MacLachlan's fault.
Yeah, and we're going to tag 3 people. I may have watched these people do this tag. I can't remember because I have seen a lot of people do it, but we're going to tag
It's popular.
Ian at BNB Books, Hooked on Books with Chris, and Mindy's Book Journey. I mean, Mindy very well may have done this tag. Mindy's right on the tags usually, and if so, I've watched it because I don't miss a Mindy video, and I don't miss a video by these other 2 either. But
Watch a lot of YouTube.
yeah, I watch a lot of BookTube. I have all day right now, so yeah. I watch BookTube, I read, I eat, and I watch the occasional silent film. So yeah, that's my and I make the occasional video. So yep, that's it. I'm going to be back with a future history project video about the first 3 stories I read this week, and actually you'll probably see that one first, but that's okay. We will see you soon.
Yep. Your books are calling. Go read.